Hey guys, it is Cam from Craft in Tailored, and in this episode of What Is On My Wrist, we are talking about leather jackets. Hey guys, it's Cam from Craft and Tailored, and in this episode of What Is On My Wrist, we are talking about an IWC Mark XII from 1994. This watch is commonly referred to as a pre-Richemont group watch, as in, I believe the year 2000, Richemont purchased IWC through a number of different acquisitions, and IWC went from being an independent house to being under the Richemont umbrella. The evil Richemont umbrella. I'm just kidding. Richemont Group, I love you. Call me. We can do some like collabing. We could do like a Craft and Tailored collab, limited edition, limited to 5,000 pieces. Call me, okay? Obviously, the watch collecting world is very familiar with the iconic and historically significant IWC Mark XI. Okay, so the Mark XI was a watch that was commonly issued to the British RAF and to the British Armed Forces, and basically it's kind of like a field watch. I would say that the watch has kind of a draw or kind of a comparison to maybe, let's say, like a Rolex Commando or a Rolex Explorer. Kind of a no-nonsense watch. It's a field watch. It tells the time, hour, minute, and sweep seconds hand, and that's kind of it. Also, I think that there's some lineage there between the Dirty Dozen watches of World War II. So if you really want to do a deep dive, check out the Dirty Dozen watches, and then also check out the IWC Mark XI, because the Mark XII kind of takes its design inspiration from the Mark XI. Hence, it's the Mark XII. It's like the next iteration of it. I digress. The first major difference and or upgrade between the Mark XI and the Mark XII was the addition of an automatically running movement, or a self-winding perpetual movement. So the Mark XI was a manually wound watch. This is an automatic watch. The other thing that is really interesting is that we see the incorporation of a date complication at the 3 o'clock. So here at the 3 o'clock position on the dial, we've got a date complication. The movement that IWC chose to use in the Mark XII was an addition of an automatically winding caliber 884. But what's interesting is the IWC Cal 884 is based on the JLC 889/2. That obviously, as we discussed, includes the date complication. The other cool thing is that the movement sits in a soft iron case, and that's to help repel issues related to magnetism and things like that. So it's kind of cool because this is almost like a Milgauss. It's a tool watch. It's something that I think is really, really cool. But also I think it's still a little bit of a sleeper, and I think it's historically and iconically significant. Is that a word? Iconically significant? It is now. Hashtag it. Iconically significant. David, put it in. Boom, boom. Okay, the other thing that we see in the piece from a more modern perspective, Mark XII versus Mark XI, is just kind of a fit and finish kind of update. We see modern watchmaking kind of in this. Obviously, it's the movement, etc. But we also see just kind of modern case finishing, modern bracelet, you know, a locking crown or a waterproof crown. One thing to note is that this is like an original or kind of more of the vintage-ish, post-vintage, pre-modern, you know, little fish. So that's how IWC marked their crowns, to let you know that it was a waterproof watch. This IWC mesh bracelet that comes on these Mark XIIs is insane. I don't know how they did this. I don't know why it is so cool, but it is. I think if somebody were to try to produce a bracelet like this today, it would be very cost prohibitive. The fit and finish of the bracelet is just, it's literally, it feels like a piece of, I mean mesh, like a piece of cloth when it's on the wrist. It is so incredibly comfortable for a stainless steel bracelet. It also looks cool. I think it's really interesting. I think it fits the watch nicely. Sometimes a mesh bracelet can kind of like turn me off. But with this watch, I just think it's iconic, and I love it on the Mark XII. The one thing I don't like about it, and I think it's just this era in time, is that it's just kind of like a push fit clasp. So I don't know if you guys can see that. I'm not worried about this coming off. Like the fit and finish of these watches is incredible. So it's very well made, but it's just kind of like a weird clasp. You know, it just kind of just pressure fits in there. And some of the like really nice Patek stuff, it kind of uses that same like friction or I don't know, whatever kind of like fitment. But I love the bracelet. I'm not talking smack here. I'm just kind of giving you an overall review. So very, very comfortable bracelet. The other thing that I really like about this is it's a no nonsense watch. It wears very comfortably. The case size is, I believe, what is this? I think it's 36 millimeters. Maybe a little more. Shit, hold on. How's this for watch nerdery? Yeah, it's 36. I mean, what's weird, it kind of threw me off for a second. I think it wears a little bit larger than 36. The watch is also pretty thin. So, you know, it doesn't wear like a small watch, even though one could say that it's a smaller tool watch. I think, again, it feels very nice on the wrist. From a design perspective, I really love the simplicity of the dial. The dial's incredible. You know, you have, you know, kind of this block marker, you know, type of loomed positioning on the dial. And then the other thing that's interesting is you actually have, you know, these numerals that kind of rotate around the dial. Obviously there isn't a 3 because there's a date window there, but I think the watch is just legible. Like if you look at the watch, you glance at it, you can tell the time easily. And another really important design feature that I think is really incredible is that IWC has a differentiating aspect between the hands. So you have this kind of like block baton for the hour hand, and then more of like a sword or kind of a traditional, you know, type of minute hand. But I think that's cool from kind of that tool utilitarian, you know, field watch kind of perspective. It is for sale at the time of this recording. It might not be for long. These watches kind of have developed a bit of a cult following. Definitely looking at it, the watch has not been polished. It retains all of its kind of original and factory finishing, which is incredible. The other thing too is the watch actually does come with, and the watch was actually offered on both the mesh bracelet like this and or a strap. So at the time of purchase in 93, 94, 95, you could have got this watch on a leather strap and or the mesh bracelet. They offered it as an option. This one actually has both. So we've got the original IWC, you know, padded leather strap, which is really cool, and it's in still wonderful condition. Has also an IWC buckle, so that's kind of a nice little like addition. And then the other thing that's really cool is the watch comes as a complete set. So we've got the original IWC little envelope here. We've got the original card. So the watch was sold in December of 1994, which is really cool. We've got the original serialized hang tag, which is pretty cool. There it is, okay. And then what else do we have? A couple of spare links. So this is really incredible. I have like a 7 1/4 inch wrist, or maybe a 6 1/4. I don't know what my wrist size is. I definitely know what my dick. You fucking creeps, okay? Just laugh at that, please. But what's cool about this is the bracelet kind of has a very specific set of links. So it does include all of the links. I think I have like maybe a 6 1/2 inch wrist, and I've got a little bit of room here. So that's kind of nice because if you have a larger or smaller wrist, you know, you have room within the mesh bracelet to play with. So that's kind of cool. So this is still tritium, which I think is kind of cool. I'm really into these watches that I think fall into the category of post-vintage, pre-modern. They're kind of in that area of like the 1980s into the early 1990s. I think there's a lot of magic in those watches where they kind of have one foot on the vintage side of the fence and one foot in the modern, and this is a watch that definitely fits in there. So, and these watches are relatively affordable. If we think about it, this one being full set, it's, you know, in the mid $4,000 range, mid to high $4,000 range. You know, the thing that I think is incredible is it's basically an Explorer with a date complication that is also a Milgauss, and it's like a field tool watch. That's what this is to me, with an incredible and super comfortable, oh God, this bracelet. It's so freaking, I mean, it literally, like if they could make lingerie out of this, I would wear it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that we're getting a little bit dirty in this one, but like, it's so freaking comfortable. It's just, I just do this all day. when I'm wearing this watch, I'm just doing this, being a creep, feeling the freaking mesh bracelet. I love it. It's so freaking comfortable. Anyways, back to what we were talking about. I think there's a lot of magic in these watches. I think that, actually, I'll say this. I know that these watches are going to creep up in price. They are very desirable and people are hunting these things out, and there's still good deals out there. You can still find these watches. I'm drooling. Sorry. There's still good deals out there. I'm literally drooling over this bracelet, okay? There's still good deals out there, and I think there's still a lot of value in a watch like this. So in any case, I'll provide a link in the description below. Be sure to David Boom at Craft and Tailored. Follow us on Instagram, and give us a like and leave us some comments. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you want us to talk about. You can tell me to go fuck myself. I don't care. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Appreciate you, and we'll see you in the next one. See ya.